Let's do virtual versus in-person
Oh,
tabletop gaming.
this is a hot button in our group. We've talked about this several times. The question is basically,
I think me and Steve don't really care. It's you
I
that
do
it's a hot
no,
button for.
he cares because we've had this conversation. It's not that
Now
we
I am
care.
put in the position of whoever I agree
No, no, no.
with, the other one's pissed at me.
Here's the thing. It's not that he doesn't like one or the other. It's that we both feel immensely guilty about the number of physical miniatures we have that we don't use.
I love miniatures, and I love the convenience of a token on Roll20.
Yeah, so that's what this topic's about, is like the difference between using virtual tools and physical tools. So like Roll20, D&D Beyond. What my last game that I DM for y'all, I had a TV turned on its back and a piece of plexiglass and like had the maps
And
blown
then
up
we zoomed in Roll20 to the point where the squares were physically an
physically
inch apart, and
and you
then
could
we
use your
took our
tokens.
miniatures and put them on top of the
I
TV.
feel like that was great.
I loved that
I
setup.
loved that game. It did pose some problems with moving people and when I needed to move the map, but it made it so immersive. But then there's also the other side of using like the grid maps and drawing it yourself and having your miniatures and paper sheets.
I would love to get into some of these folks that have this badass scenery, like 3-dimensional sceneries on their battle maps. And that looks so cool to me. And Dwarven Forge and some
Yeah.
other companies build this stuff, and you can just go crazy with it. And another money pit.
Right.
But I would absolutely love to do it and play it. Do you know what you really need that I think our group doesn't have to really stick with that miniatures, in person, battle map on the tabletop?
A really good painter.
Somebody who will paint your freaking mini. Because you're right, we got a shit ton of minis
We've got
unpainted.
what was that? We got like a
Yeah, the Kickstarter.
a Kickstarter where you got like how many
hundreds, maybe
hundreds of
even
minis,
close to 1,000.
and we painted maybe a fraction. We is a very strong word. You painted a
And I
fraction.
suck at it.
Some of them are really baller though. Like you did like this like
the
dark
skeleton's
washing on
so
them.
easy to do a black wash on it and
Yeah,
let the
it's
black
good.
settle into their areas.
Right.
It's like, that's it. I just knocked out 12 skeletons
Done.
in 30 minutes.
But I miss the feeling of pen and paper, drawn maps, miniatures that were just like pewter, like from when I was a preteen playing with my Aunt Linda. Like there's something so nostalgic about that.
It is.
However, in my life now, where I have 2 hours twice a week to dedicate to this kind of stuff, that would just not be feasible. Having my character sheet on my computer or on my phone or on my laptop and everything brought up and it brings me up right where I was before, you don't have to roll and put anything away. Like that just makes it so much more accessible time wise.
Right. To the point where when we play our home game and everybody's there, 7 of us around a table, we have a TV set up at the end of the table for the battle map using Roll20. So we are using both in person and virtual. And from what I've seen, there's a lot of people out there kind of doing Fair World that way. And I've seen people laying their TVs flat like we did.
I think
They
it
make
makes
gaming tables now that have
I
the
know. I
TV
really wanted to make myself
pre-installed.
one. Like when I started with the table with the TV up like on the side, like I really wanted to make myself a gaming table, but I couldn't convince myself that it was worth like getting rid of a dining table to have a gaming table.
Where's your commitment?
I know. To the dining table we don't eat at. But it also like we have one player who plays remotely. Like so she isn't actually at the table. So having the virtual screen allows her to still move her character. We can see her rolls, and if she's got to step away, we can chat in the thing with her without actually talking. Like it makes it accessible to her. Whereas if we weren't doing that, she wouldn't be able to play. We could like hold a phone up and like FaceTime her, but that would it wouldn't work.
No.
So
It wouldn't work for very long. It could work,
do
but
you miss pen and paper physical at all, or are you really?
in case you haven't noticed, a lot of the time when I'm given the option, I will use pen and paper and regular dice. It's a
Yeah.
better feel. I enjoy it more. There is the aspect of like 4E was designed to be as complex as they wanted it to be because they had intentions on releasing a virtual tabletop with it that would do the calculations. And it's kind of to me like, at a certain point, why aren't you just booting up a video game and playing it?
That's fair.
There is the group dynamic of it, but there are a lot of games that you can go in and play as a group that the math and numbers and things I don't really enjoy are handled on the back end of.
Yeah.
So, like, I like to roll the dice.
I do like to roll the dice. I like having miniatures, but I hate the fact that my paper gets all like janky with erase marks. And for a while there we went with like spell cards and we had like tokens to and that was like a minor fix, but then it was like you were carding literally like 8 things to be able to play your one character.
I enjoy the mix,
I do.
right? I like us all being together in
Yeah.
the same room because we have great food when we do that. That chicken schnitzel Friday that John cooked was out of this freaking world.
Yes.
But it's an opportunity, right? The whole family gets together, we eat. There's a lot of laughing and fun. It's that vibe. And then I want the convenience of Roll20 down there at the end, and that Hannah can come in via Roll20 and play with us. I like my character sheets electronically now.
Yeah.
You know, the erasing and all that stuff doesn't
Mess up my paper.
right.
But
Doing character mancers to level up, it's so convenient. But I do miss rolling dice sometimes. I got a shit ton of dice out there that, you know, find an opportunity. You know, that's one of the reasons I've really enjoyed us getting into Call of Cthulhu and some Savage World stuff.
Even when we play remote stuff, it's usually theater of the mind, so you can roll your own dice.
Yeah.
really, the only thing we use Roll20 for in the other games like Call of Cthulhu is for the dice roller. We have used it for like handouts, but as a whole, we don't do like battle map mechanics.
We've gotten away from it.
We did the first game, but then we realized it didn't really add anything for us.
Call of Cthulhu just
It just
seems to lend itself better to total theater of the mind.
I think it takes the horror out if you have to stop and count your spaces. And
And combat in Call of Cthulhu is not so tactical, but you really need to know where exactly am I in relation to this other thing? What's the distance? What's between us? Those
Yeah.
kind of things.
Definitely gotten away from the wargaming history of D&D.
Mhm.
I like them both for various reasons, and I wish I could find a better happy medium. Like you guys use Roll20 for your character sheets. I use D&D Beyond because D&D Beyond like Roll20 is pretty good about their character master sheet. Like it works pretty well, but the way it's set up, it still looks like a character sheet. Whereas in Roll20, like all my stuff is grouped like actions, reactions, bonus
You
actions.
got that back.
D&D Beyond.
Beyond.
Sorry, my bad. D&D Beyond has them all grouped up like that, so that if John asked me, "Do you want to do anything when this person walks by you?" Or they did this. Do you have? I'll click the reaction. It lists all of my reactions for my character instead of on a piece of paper where I have to flip and find where I've written shit down.
So it's funny you said that on my Roll20 character sheets on the features, feats and features. I always go in and add to the name of the thing in parentheses bonus.
That's pretty smart.
Parentheses.
'Cause that's my biggest
reaction,
complaint with
so that I can look down real quick and see where I have bonus actions and reactions. So, but that's a good point. So,
I'm too
and I've
ADD.
watched some folks that are playing on I can't remember the name of the other big VTTs.
Foundry.
Man, I watched some of that and I'm like, wow, there's some
Right.
capability in there. Roll20 is at their 10th anniversary. Why doesn't it?
But then we get back to the whole 5e thing. It's like, I've spent so much money in Roll20, I refuse to give up on it now, even though I can tell Foundry has like better area of effects.
And I'm the idiot who loves to have the physical book.
And
But then I want it in Roll20 too. So I have paid double for every book that I own in Roll20, I also own a physical copy of. So
it's been, but I like them both for various reasons. I do kind of think the sweet spot was having the physical minis with the virtual map. Because I remember the first time I showed you guys a map on there was like a bridge over a chasm, and you guys all went ballistic. Like around the table, you were like, "Oh my god!"
Well, it was so better than a green wet erase marker where you draw. This is a river, and here's a bridge, and everything else was just tan and grid.
Right.
I think getting back to Foundry versus Roll20, our brother and sister-in-law that play in the home game, if they were still using the iPad as they are now, I don't think Foundry is going to be an
No.
option for us on an iPad.
Yeah, Sarah could use an iPad, and that would be because they're struggling with Roll20 sometimes to do the right thing. And I think Foundry would just way.
I think that's why
outclass it.
Roll20 is so much older with so much history, but has stayed at a certain
Keep the
accessibility.
accessibility for mobile devices. Yeah.
Yeah, because I can get on Roll20 on my phone. It's not super functional, but I can pull up my character sheet. I can roll.
And you
So-
can get on D&D Beyond on your phone, but they also have a lot more money, especially now that Wizards of the Coast is
Right.
bought in. They have a lot more money to put into things like that. Like Foundry, I don't know that you're going to be able to use it mobile. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments, but
Yeah, if you've used Foundry, let us know because we haven't used Foundry, but I'm almost scared to go over there and like try it out because I'm afraid I'll fall in love and then have to come back and convince you guys to get off of Roll20 and lose the however many hundreds of dollars we've spent on books over there.
so anything else on this subject?
No.
To me, I think from here on out, it's always going to be a mix.
Yeah.
Right. This,
Especially when you are DM, having that many character sheets easily accessible
yeah.
is great.
When it's just the two of us like playing for you, we can hand you our character sheet. You can look over for, oh, I just need to figure out this thing. But when there's 7 people, that would be a nightmare.
right. But so that is true. But also, if you're running 5 enemies against
Having
you,
them all.
5, right, flipping through a book, whereas I can just have 5 little tabs up here, and I can click on, okay, now the witch is going to do something or whatever. So, right.
I think if we didn't have day jobs, we didn't have kids, and we could every Saturday play for 8 hours straight, I think we would play physical. I think we'd play with maps, we'd play with tokens and, whatever. But I think with what we're having to do now of balancing work and like real life with this, I think that the virtual just gives you that jump right in satisfaction, not feeling like you're wasting time scribbling a.
Is it just
Stream.
me, but those really involved 3-dimensional terrains?
I want to make one so.
I do too, but it seems to me it requires a certain amount of railroading by DM.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%.
In order to use this great big diorama I just constructed for this
You're
battle
gonna have
scene,
to go.
I'm going to make sure you get to this battle scene. I watch, Critical Role. Seems very open and non-railroady, but then they get to a spot and Matt reaches back and unveils this great battle map. I'm like, well, how did you know they were going to be there? There's some railroading going on there. So
Or some outright scripting. You don't
Could be,
really
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, but for like real players, that's hard. But like, I do the Spooky Town every year. And every year I'm like, I could build. I have the stuff. I have all of the tools here. I could build 3D battle map things. But then again, I'm like, well, what would I build? I can build a generic dungeon. Where's the fucking fun in that? Like, I want it to actually like be the dungeon you're in,